take his place in 10th position there because of the fact that he made it through into Superpole. So I fully expect we'll see Louis Requenco starting from 11th on the grid. Behind him will be Mark Taylor in 12th position, John Newell in 13th, and then Jonathan Andre will complete the grid in 14th position. As you see there, the race weekend fully underway here at Zolder. It's a very busy weekend indeed, with a lot of different championships taking to the circuit. But we have our first race broadcast of the day coming up a little bit later on at 12:25, and we're really looking forward to that one, where we will have Norbert Kish starting from the front row yet again with Sasha Lenz alongside him. And then our final race of the weekend broadcast will come up just after. Apologies, I was saying 12:25. That's UK time. My apologies. It'll be about 1:25 in the afternoon local time to Zolder, and then just after 4 p.m. at local time at Zolder we will have our final race of the weekend, round 24 of the championship here in 2023. Can't believe just how quickly the championship has flown by already this year, with just 2 race meetings left to go after this one.
Number 2 of race day number 2 and race number 3 to come at 1:25. So just come back to us in front of your television screens or at the live stream. See you in a second. Have a cool lemonade or whatever, and bear with us. See you in a sec.
punten in een massief sterk seizoen onderweg. 16 jaar jong. En rijder in de Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. En leider in de tussenstand om het kampioenschap. De tweede startrij met Rick Koen in wagen 9. In 29, 889 zijn stelste realisatie tijdens de kwalificatie. Gevolgd door Bertrand Barret. Die kon post vatten hier in Zolder dit weekend. Bertrand met 1,29, 9,65 op van de partij. En die geven elkaar hier rendezvous voor deze eerste wedstrijd in een zo close kwalificatie. In zo'n prachtige prestatie kan niet anders zijn als dat het vandaag.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to the 2023 Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux here from the magnificent Zolder circuit in Belgium. We're here for what is going to be the 5th race meeting of this 6-race meeting season, rounds 9 and 10 taking place today at this magnificent track. My name is Chaz Draycott and I'm going to be your English commentator for these 2 races of the championship, and we are almost ready to get ready and blast off at the start of this next race of the season, round number 9. We've got fantastic conditions at Zolder today, which, to be fair, I'm sure a lot of people will agree, is not usually the case whenever any motorsport comes to Zolder. It's often a track, much like other circuits in Europe, that has its own climate, where you never know whether you're going to be met with rainy conditions, just a bit of cloud, or a baking hot sunshine day like today. The glorious Porsche Cayman GT4 from the front of the grid just makes its way away from the circuit in the fantastic Porsche 75th anniversary colour scheme that it carries over the course of the season. It's always lovely to see a Cayman GT4, fantastic compact little racing car. But of course the machines that we're going to be watching over the next sort of 40 minutes or so is going to be the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 992 GT3 Cup car, and it is going to make a fantastic noise, and of course it's going to look wonderful as well. Just going to get the grid for you as well for this first race of the day. It's bound to be an exciting one because on pole position we have Glenn Van Paris in the number 15 car. You can see him just to the right of your shot there, the grey and red machine. Currently in 3rd place in the championship. Here you go, Robert De Haan in 2nd place in car number 46, the championship leader at this moment in time for Richardson Racing. Then we have Rick Cohen in 3rd place with Bertrand Baguette joining him on the 2nd row in car number 92. We then have Dirk Schuten in car number 57. He's 6th in the championship at this moment in time with Sam de Jong alongside him. Sascha Norden starts in 7th place with Flint Schuring in 8th position. Etienne Plonet is going to be in 9th place, and Robin Knutson, the Swedish driver in car number 3 for Revs Motorsport, completes the top 10. Then we have Lucas van Eindhoven in 11th position. Quentin Antonell is in 12th, and the British driver Aaron Mason in car number 8 for Revs Motorsport starts in 13th. He's alongside Cedric Chassang, car 42. Then it's Hans Weiss Jr., and then we have Joan Vignez alongside him, the, I believe, Romanian driver in 16th place. I apologise if I've got my flags wrong. Sebastian Layu is in 17th with Mike Rosenberg in the number 12 car in 18th place. Completing the top 20, we have Luc van der Viesten and Jaime Font in the number 93 car in 20th place, and then completing the 23 car grid we have Ad Geerts, Ralph Popelars and Mika Stanley for Richardson Racing. The last 2 cars on the grid though not setting times. That's Ralph Popelars and Mika Stanley. I believe they will still be there though to complete our field and make the race start. Unsure unfortunately what kept them from completing their qualifying session. But it's about to get loud and it's about to get fast here at Zolder for the Porsche Cup Benelux. The engines are all going to get started and the cars will scream away. These Porsches revving to nearly 9,000 RPM in most cases from their flat 6 engines. It's an iconic noise in motorsport. It's the noise that you hear from a Porsche. An interesting thing to note as well is that some of the certain categories, so we have Pro, Pro-Am and the Am drivers in this. The Am drivers are the only ones with the ABS activated on their cars. So in certain situations where you have an Am driver fighting against a Pro-Am, you may have a bit of a different scenario with what they can use and what they cannot. in terms of a braking zone. If they have to come down to fighting on the brakes, the AMs may sometimes have a bit of an advantage. So it's always exciting to see. But the cars now head their way around this gorgeous Zolder circuit. You can see them there just going around the Lucien Bianchi box down towards the Kleine chicane. What a fantastic track this is to be going racing at. The first sector is a massive challenge for the drivers, but also the chicanes here in these Porsches are very difficult to manage. The cars themselves, they really do soak up curbs very well. We'll see a lot of body language from the cars. That's something I'm going to be saying a lot over the course of these broadcasts, is body language. So cool to see how much these Cup cars move around. I mean, look at the change of direction as they come down the straight towards us here at the Kleine chicane. But even then, for a stiff GT Cup car, they do still roll around, you know, they dive down on the nose on the brakes. They are an absolute spectacle to watch, are these racing machines. Now, you will have to bear with me as I still get used to liveries and numbers and so on as the day goes on, but I will do my very best to identify drivers as quickly as possible during these two races today. We have a lovely big field of cars and plenty to look at, I'm sure, over the course of these races. The field just making their way around the Boulderberg box now, which is the hairpin at the bottom of the circuit. It's a key overtaking opportunity as well in these cars. Then you've got the long run through the slight left-right. It's almost like a high-speed chicane, the Jochen Rindt box, down towards where our camera is located right here at the Jackie X box at the end of the lap. So championship leader Robert De Haan starting on the front row alongside Glenn Van Parijs. Can he jump him to the first corner? We'll have to wait and see. This is the part where they get a lot of heat into the brakes. They really throw the cars around now on the final dash to the line. Glenn Van Parijs, of course, has his teammate lining up in 4th position on the grid, Bertrand Baguette in the August by NGT machine. Benjamin Pack was racing that car as well earlier in the season, I believe, in the number 92 car. It seems like it's been shared by a couple of drivers as the championship has gone on. The position on the grid, Rick Cohen in the number 9 machine, the JW Race Service car. Fantastic livery on that racing machine. And then the very bright yellow car of Dirk Schouten, number 57, starting on the 3rd row. There is your championship leader, Robert De Haan, for Richardson Racing. Lovely teal metallic colour scheme on that car to go with the white and orange flashes through the middle of the body. You can see the medical cars and official machines at the back of the grid now, all ready to go by the look of it. The green flag is waved, the revs rise, and they are underway for round number 9 in the 2023 Porsche Cup Benelux season. There's a lot of jostling in the middle of the pack towards the rear end of the field. De Haan has not been able to get the better of Glenn Van Parijs around the first corner. Schouten there under pressure by what looks like the number 18 car trying to go around him. It's actually Schuring for Huber Racing trying to make it through there. The orange flashes of Huber Racing, definitely ones that are easier to pick up on our screens, but it was a fantastic start by pole sitter Glenn Van Parijs. He gets the job done with De Haan still right behind him there. 3rd position still held by Rick Cohen as well in car number 9. Then Baguette still in 4th position. So the top 4 holding station. De Haan looking down the inside already into the Kleine chicane. A little look by Sam de Jong in the 777 as well. 2x2 in the middle of the pack there. Looked like car number 75 potentially trying to get himself into a bit of trouble. That's Etienne Plonnet. But everybody keeping it nice and tidy into the Villeneuve chicane. The cars really dive down into the dip there, one way then the other. And this half-hour race certainly bursts into life. The change of direction in these cars remarkable, and the snake of Porsches through. And oh, De Jong, well, I said he was having a look down the inside into the Kleine chicane, and he's having too much of a look on the outside by the look of it. And the marshals have been told that they have to try and get that machine out and get it lifted. But it seems like we may get a safety car procedure here. There's certainly yellow flags waving. I could not see. Yes, there is a safety car board out, unfortunately. The 777 of Sam de Jong stuck in the gravel there, trackside. And that is a massive shame. I'm not sure whether he did that all on his own or whether he had a big spin, just with a bit of contact. But you can see the rear end is very much beached there. And the recovery operation begins. And now the drivers get a chance to put a bit more temperature in the tyres, and well, this is a bit of a freebie now where they can just make sure that everything stays as they want it within the car. They can heat up the brakes and the tyres, not completely kill the tyres either. Means that later on in the race now, obviously the tyres will last a little bit longer into it. But it's a real shame for De Jong having that moment down at the Kleine chicane. Can't see any sort of guilty tyre marks or any skid marks into the gravel there, so not sure whether he's just been side by side on the way through and had a tap, or whether he's just hit the curb and bounced wide, because I imagine it's very easy to do. But it's Glenn Van Parijs with that fantastic start, manages to stay in front of De Haan. Rick Cohen also starting well in third position. Bertrand Baguette with him, Dirk Schouten. So the whole top 6 really staying as they were, other than De Jong. Flint Schuring has actually gained 2 places because he's got ahead of Sasha Norden, who's now down in 7th position. Etienne Plones and Robin Knutson started on the 5th row together. And Plones has actually dropped down into 12th place at this moment in time, so not the best start for the number 75, but we saw them in a bit of, I wouldn't say strife, but just in a bit of a battle there in the opening stages as they now get De Jong's car out of the gravel. Lovely job by the marshals and the recovery crew there. Thank you again to all of the officials and everybody that keeps an event like this running as smoothly as possible. You can see the right rear actually is moving around a lot on that car, so I believe that De Jong has taken a hit in the right rear while battling for those positions, and that's what's pitched him off. Yes, you can see the damage actually to the rear bumper. It's poked out slightly, isn't it? So unfortunately, De Jong not doing that all on his own there, and maybe a bit of frustration concerned with the other driver that was involved. I didn't quite remember who else he was looking down the inside of, but he definitely had a little look, didn't he, going into the Kleine chicane. And De Jong's car is now pushed away, hidden behind the barriers down at turn 5. We had one of our racing trucks there yesterday, actually, during our race, who had a failure, and he had to park it behind there. So it's good to know that it's definitely safe in that area of the circuit. But we may get, yes, they've just got round the final couple of corners now as De Jong's car has been properly moved out of the way. So what they'll be doing now is turning the lights off the safety car on this lap, I imagine. Then we will go green flag racing once again, and Glenn Van Parijs will have to continue to hold his lead over Robert De Haan. Currently, so far this season, there's been a bunch of race victories for Robert De Haan. He won round 2, 3, 5, 7 and 8. Won both races at Assen. One race at Zandvoort, one race at Hockenheim, and one at Spa. So he's not had a single race weekend so far this season, has Robert De Haan, where he's not won a race. Glenn Van Parijs won the very first race of the season and got pole position and fastest lap as well. So a fantastic start to his campaign back at Spa during the 24 Hours of Spa weekend earlier in the year. But a double DNF for Glenn Van Parijs is what's really put a dent in his championship. He retired from the second race at Zandvoort, then the first race at Assen, and that's really changed his look. Robert De Haan is 50 points clear at the top of the championship as well at the moment. So realistically, with just 4 races left this season, including this one, he could happily sit behind Glenn Van Parijs right there, and he wouldn't lose too many points in terms of the championship. In terms of taking the race victory, you'd get 25 points and then 20 for second place. So he'd only lose 5 if he sat behind him now, and that's without taking into consideration the fastest lap. Looking at the other categories as well, don't forget we have the pros, the pro-ams, and the rookie division as well. Robert De Haan is the top of the rookies as well, with this being his first season, so it's incredibly impressive. Ralph Popelaars is the driver that's currently top of the AM Championship. And in terms of this race, he's got to think about Cedric Chassang as well. I'm just trying to see roughly where they are. They're actually right together on the circuit in 15th and 16th place typically as well. So we'll keep an eye on those two for their fight in the AM standings, because I think the other drivers around them, Van der Feesten's a little bit far down as well in 911. And then, yeah, Philip Weiss also not quite with them in that battle. So it's definitely between those two in that championship and in this race. Sasha Norden is the head of the Pro-Ams in the championship as well. Aaron Mason trying to fight with him for that, and Johan Vines as well, Vignez I should say. So it looks like Sasha Norden's got that one wrapped up too. Green flag racing though resumes here at Zolder, and Glenn Van Perrie leads them down the start-finish straight, and listen to the racket. It sounds fantastic as they all streak their way down the start-finish straight. This beautifully colourful grid. Boy, it looks good, and boy, it sounds good as well. That was the number 36 machine having a good scrap there. That's Populars actually having a fight with Chasang, and that is for the AM class lead in this race. Chasang in the red, white and blue car trying to stick with him. Look at the speed, and whoa, dearie me, Dahan completely sideways through the Lucien Bianchi box for a second there, kicking the back end out. He's already on the flashing lights. He's trying everything he can to unsettle Glenn Van Perrie. So forget what I was saying about him happily sitting in second place. He is chasing him down, and he is going for it hard here, really throwing everything at this race lead with over 21 minutes left to go. Through the Villeneuve chicane they go, through the left, through the right again, as they then go round the long right-hander at Terlemenbocht and over the crest of the hill. They go flying off through the forest. Cohen still in third place as well, trying to hold on to this. As down the inside goes Dahan, a humongous send into the Boulderberg box. And great thinking there by Glenn Van Perrie. He says, I'm not having any of that sunshine, thank you very much. Dives out of the way. There's a move a little bit further down. Populars, and then, oh, Chasang. Chasang gets into the car in front of him. I think that was the number 13 machine that he's just hit, which was Vignez Dabad in front of him. I think Vignez completely around, unfortunately. Not good at all. Johan Vignez, that would have been from Baporo Motorsport. Well, it looked like Chasang just tried to follow Populars through, and he went into the back of him, but the race lead changes then. Dahan at the front now from Glenn Van Perrie. Third place going the way of Rick Cohen at this moment in time, but still over 20 minutes left to go in this race. It was, Johan Vignez that was turned around, and he's dropped way down the order. Clumsy stuff, unfortunately, from Chasang. Cedric just saw the gap that was opened up by the driver in front of him there, which was Populars. And Ralph has had a fantastic start, it has to be said. You know, he actually started right near the back of the grid, didn't he? I mentioned earlier on he hadn't put a time in. There he is, actually, just in front of Chasang right now. Can't really see any guilty damage on Chasang's gorgeous satin metallic machine, but that is the AM class lead. And it looks like Mika Stanley has lost the place now to the number 13 of Vignez, a bit further down. Vignez regaining some places after that earlier spin. There's the number 11 car of Ad Geertz. Another bright and wonderful looking machine. There's a lot of smoke down there, down at the Boulderberg box. That says to me that someone's had quite the lock-up. A little move down the inside there, just going into the final couple of corners. I think that was Mika Stanley as well in the other Richardson racing car that was making moves, trying to get that place back off Vignez. But this lead battle is not done yet. Dahan certainly got ahead in fantastic fashion ahead of Van Perrie, but he's not disappeared over the horizon, has he? We've got 0.8 of a second separating the top three. And Dahan is holding a fantastic lead for just a moment by the look of it, as Glenn Van Perrie looking back down the inside. It's definitely not done with this. And I tell you one thing, Rick Cohen is going to be watching this with great anticipation, thinking, you know what, I might be in for a freebie here if these continue this one. Streaking their way around Lucien Bianchi box yet again. Seems like Dahan has got that corner in specific form right now. He's really got it nailed down. Onto the brakes they go, bobbling their way over the curbs. Look at how well the car absorbs them. As a GT car, you don't always want to smack curbs very hard, because it just takes one wrong angle to snap something underneath, whether that be a toe link, whether it just be a shock itself giving way, or even just breaking a spring. But these guys know exactly what they're doing when it comes to those curbs. Good battle going on for fourth place as well, actually, because Baguette trying to hold on there ahead of Dirk Schuiten in the 57 car, and then Flint Schuring just behind them as well. Flint driving the number 16 machine, of course, the bright orange colours. The Huber racing car standing out quite a lot. There is Stanley back down the inside again. Mika Stanley. Oh, we've got a car around on the left of shot there, just out of the Boulderberg box. There was somebody else having a spin. Oh, and it seems like we've had another spin as well, actually. I think there was more drama at the back of the field there. think there was a secondary car, tried to avoid them and through the Jochen Rink box, which is the left-right. Oh, sorry, yeah, it is the left-right. On the exit of the Boulderberg box, there was another spinner. So I'm not quite sure who that was that went around and joined them, unfortunately. We've got a yellow flag waved at turn 2. And is that a safety car board? It is. We've got another safety car brought out. Trying to see who it was that's dropping down. The number 33 car is dropping down the order. That's Lajou for the Duo Racing machine. And there's Chassang as well having an issue. Chassang has dropped down a long way. Popular's also dropping down. The number 36 AM leader for Hans Weiss. That's a big, big shame for Popular's because he was going so well from the back of the grid. He'll have to do it all again if he's still out there, but there's no saying he's still on the circuit at this moment in time. So definitely a couple of spinners down there on the exit of the Boulderberg box. That neutralises the race lead as well. Then again, it's not like De Haan had disappeared over the horizon, was it? He certainly wasn't clear of everybody by a big margin. There is Chassang just catching up again. Good to see that he's been able to carry on in the race at least. And the safety car now waits just on the exit of the final corner to pick the field up. And the field now going very slowly round the Boulderberg box. That's where all of the issues were. Some of the marshals there were signalling to the red, white and black car that was just making its way around the final couple of corners. Not quite sure what that was in reference to. I believe that was Font Casas. Number 93, that was. Apologies, it's not a car I've seen the numbers of. Yes, Jaime Font in car number 93. Sorry, it's listed on my entry list as Font Casas, but I believe it's Casas Baporo, the team name. So I'm not quite sure what that was about, but still. Populars and Lajou have unfortunately dropped a lap down there, so they were the ones involved in that incident that has caused this second safety car. Dirk Schouten there in the number 57, definitely standing out. There is the number 75 car, still out there at the moment, which is Plones. Good to see that he's still been able to continue on after the earlier dramas that he had in the first couple of corners. But what a fantastic first couple of laps it was by Glenn Van Perrie and Robert De Haan. Excellent entertainment already. And unfortunately, the race has been red flagged. So the red flag brought out. It seemed like there was only a minor spin out of the final corners there, down at the Boulderberg box. But unfortunately, it was just out of our camera's range. And obviously, if there was something wrong, we wouldn't want to openly go and broadcast that and show you. But it seems like there's a car stuck that definitely needs a big recovery job. So they've got the DAF on it. And the recovery team here at Zolder. Thank you to all of them involved that continue to help the race meetings run as smoothly as possible. But unfortunately, the only option here seems to be that we have to red flag this one and bring it to a temporary halt while we wait to see what the next course of proceedings will be. We weren't too far through the race, only about a third of the way through in terms of the times. So there's big potential for a restart. We'll have to just wait and see in what order that will take place and whether it will take place. So I will have to keep you updated as info comes in. I'll only be able to tell you what I get fed, unfortunately, but I will let you know as soon as I can. But great entertainment so far, isn't it? Fantastic stuff from the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. The cars, the sights, the sounds, all of it very, very exciting, as always. They just make their way down through the Villeneuve chicane now, though, and De Haan will be very happy to have made that move. But if I'm honest with you, it was great thinking by Glenn Van Perrie because he saw the move coming down the inside. He didn't try and shut the door. He didn't try and cut across the front of De Haan. He just thought, you know what, he's not going to make that, so I'm just going to wait and I'm going to let him go and just see if he overcooks it. Because as a driver, if you're being attacked with a big send like that, you can often just get out of the way, let them go wide, let them overdo it, And that'll be that. Now, the cleanup operation that's going on is just to the left-hand side of our camera here. So it's just on the exit of this hairpin down at the Boulderberg Box. There's a sign being held up by the marshals there showing the drivers. I'm not sure whether that's telling them to come into the pits or something when they get around the final couple of corners, but they're going very slowly on the exit here, which makes me think they've got to navigate something, which is a real shame. So hopefully we can find out a bit more, and hopefully any drivers involved are okay. You can hear the brakes squeaking away as they head round the final corners here. And it was the 93 car of Jaime Font that was getting signalled earlier on by the marshals. But an unfortunate way for the race to go at the moment. With these gorgeous conditions we've got, I'm sure the drivers would have been loving the opportunity of having a full run of green flag racing. Unfortunately, I can't see far enough down that straight there to tell what has happened, but there was definitely a car that spun on its own on the exit of the hairpin, and then by the time we'd cut to the next shot here, there was another spinning car going backwards, not even hard into the barrier. It just seemed like said car was rolling slightly, and all the drivers are being led into the pit lane, it seems. So they're not being told to line up back on the grid yet for a restart or anything. So I'll have to give you information as and when it comes through. It seems like, yeah, the timing was going a bit crazy there as they crossed what would be the finish line as they come through the pit lane, but it was Glenn Van Perry just behind De Haan at that point, with Cohen in third position. Fourth place was still Bertrand Baguette holding on. Then we had the 57 of Dirk Schouten, or Schouten. Flint Schuring just behind as well. And then the 21 of Sacha Norden, who was leading in his category. Robin Knutson and Etienne Plones were next up on the grid anyway, on the fifth row. You can see there Schuring just making their way down now in the gorgeous black and orange machine. Then it was Sacha Norden, then Van Eindhoven in car 14. Lucas making a little bit of progress in the early stages there. Lucas started at the back end of this sixth row of the grid, so had worked his way forward a little bit. Now the cars are all going to be told to line up in what is known as the fast lane in the pit lane. So it's the lane closest to the pit wall where the cars would be driving through if they were at speed. And all the teams and personnel have been cleared to touch the cars and obviously work on them, do whatever they need and speak to the drivers. You can see, look, they're covering them up as well in some cases because of the heat here at Zolder. It's not the usual conditions that we would see. There's lots of umbrellas out, there's doors being closed, all sorts, or doors being opened, I should say, to let a breeze in wherever they can. It gets very, very hot inside a race car. I remember seeing a piece of footage yesterday. Somebody had, I don't know what the official term is for a temperature gun, but they put it inside of a TCR car that was in the sun, and you were talking 70 degrees Celsius in some cases. It can get very, very warm in there. And then you've got to think about the fact the drivers are wearing balaclavas, fireproof overalls, they're wearing helmets as well. It's crazy. But yes, unfortunately a stoppage here at Zolder for round number 9 of the 2023 Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. But no parc fermé conditions or anything at this moment in time, because technically the race is still not underway as such, but it's not been declared a result or anything yet. So we will have to wait and see what happens with the recovery effort down there at the Boulderberg Bocht. It's a real shame for it to happen, but at the end of the day, these things happen in motorsport, and we have to adhere to the safety regulations as best we can, and it is all in the interests of safety. We don't want drivers and teams to be racing unnecessarily at full speed when there could be any risk of safety. So hats off to the organisers for making the call. It's always a difficult call to give the race a red flag, basically, to get it stopped. Because, as we all know, we all want to go green flag racing for as long as possible. But again, you don't want to risk safety in any way whatsoever. So the red flags remain out here at Zolder. The sun continues to beat down on the circuit, and the teams and drivers can reconvene at the midpoint to get hopefully prepared for a restart. But again, I will wait and see what news comes through. And I will let you know as soon as I get any updates whatsoever that have importance to whether we will go racing again. Thank you as well, I must say, to Olivier Arts as well, who has massively prepared me for this weekend. It's always interesting as a commentator coming into a championship that you've never covered before, but I've been given a lot of information and a lot of help in preparing for this at this fantastic racing circuit, and really, really do look forward to hopefully getting racing again. And obviously we have another race coming up later on today, which I'm certainly looking forward to as well. But I know that if the red flag continues and the race stoppage continues on and this race gets declared a result and declared as finished, then the drivers and teams will certainly be looking forward to more track time a bit later on as well. You can see even some of the drivers already out of the cars as well, heading back and to from the garages. They're not obliged to stay in the cars at this point, so they're able to get out and stretch their legs a little bit and have a move around and just get out in the fresh air, I suppose. It's better than being sat in the boiling hot car for this amount of time. It's one of those moments in a race where the drivers all have different mental states. So some of the drivers will want to get out of the car and some of them will want to go and walk around, whereas some of them will want to stay in the car and just stick to where they are. But right now, you can see some of the drivers seemingly wanting to get back in the car quite quickly all of a sudden. Then again, it was only the case of one driver trying to make their way back over. But they have the music playing at Zolder and they're maintaining the positive vibes here at this fantastic Belgian racing circuit. And hopefully we'll be back underway very, very soon. I've not seen any further updates as of yet. I'm part of the WhatsApp group message board as well already, which is where all of the race control messages get sent and a lot of info for the drivers and teams. But as you can see by the drivers still walking around outside of the cars, there's no urgency yet to get everybody back in and get it all started again. So clearly quite the recovery operation down there between the Boulderberg-Bocht and the Jochen-Rindt-Bocht. But Zolder is a massive challenge for these drivers and teams. There's so many different elements to this racing circuit. There's some long straights and slipstreaming opportunities, but there's a lot of very heavy braking zones. It's a circuit that really takes its toll on brakes and suspension components because they've got these big heavy braking zones, and not only that, when the brakes are all heated up and really worked to within an inch of their life, the car then gets thrown at curbs left, right and centre. And because it is a chicane of such nature, the car's putting all of its weight on one side as it gets thrown up in the air, and then suddenly the suspension has to work so hard to then counteract the other curb that it's about to hit. So especially in cars like this that are so low to the ground, it really does take its toll. Even in the truck racing that's joining us this weekend at the circuit, some of the trucks have been having issues with components as well, braking over the curbs. And they are very, very big, tough, beefy machines. Seemed like there was a little bit of a repair job maybe going on to one of the cars near the front there. Somebody was running around with a lot of tape anyway, and usually it's a very high-tech operation when you get the tape out to repair a race car, obviously. Just depends if certain body panels have been touched and moved and have to be taped up. There was one of the cars being brought in. Didn't quite catch the number of that one, I'm afraid, and oh, quite a bit of damage to the other car following it in. Was that Mika Stanley that came in? I don't think it was. Just checking which of them it was. I think, well, Lajou dropped down and lost a lot of places. He was involved in that. And then Populars was also another car involved. So Lajou, it seems, was in there. I was just trying to listen in there to the circuit announcer just to see if we could hear. It sounds like, apparently, according to one of my colleagues at the circuit, sounds like there will be a restart. So the drivers will be prepared and get back in the cars. And yes, you can see that there's a bit more of a buzz all of a sudden down there as everyone closes the doors, removes whatever covers and umbrellas they have. The cars now make their way on the back of the recovery truck down the pit lane. I think that's the number 33 machine of Lajou. Yes, it was. That was car number 33.
Ja, daar gaan dan de DST boys en girls met de Porsches door de paddock naar de teams hier aan de achterzijde van de pitlane is dat.
Okay, there are some announcements being shouted out, at least in the pit lane. Apologies, I was just trying to listen in there and see whether there was any information that I could relay from that or whether you could hear it for yourselves. And there we go. We have a restart at 12:45 CEST, which is going to be in just 2 minutes' time. So not much longer to wait, everybody, before we go back racing again in the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. This is round 9 of the 2023 season, and currently, as things stand, even whether we're in the pit lane or not, it is Robert De Haan and Glenn Van Perrie, the top two in the championship, that are first and second after a great battle in the opening laps. Glenn Van Perrie starting on pole position and getting a good getaway, but after the first safety car period, Robert De Haan jumped in front down into the Boulderberg box, and then unfortunately a couple of spinning cars, I believe, have come together and gotten themselves beached in the last couple of corners, which has caused the red flag while the recovery operation gets underway. One of them being the number 33 car of Sébastien Lajou, and one of the cars, I believe, being Ralph Poppelar's as well in car number 36. So it looks like we're going to have a safety car restart. You can see the safety car boards and the yellow flags being brought out now. All of the teams and personnel moving very quickly away from the cars. You can see all of the golden foil heat shielding just to make sure the drivers don't absolutely melt in those cabs. And all of a sudden it looks like everybody is clear of the cars. You could hear some of them starting up, revving the engine slightly, making the fantastic, iconic noise that Porsches always do with those flat six engines. And all of them will be screaming into life once again in just a few moments' time. But there is your confirmation that the restart will be 12:45 CEST. And the pace car makes its way out the end of the pit lane. Robert De Haan following on, then Glenn Van Perrie in car number 15, Rick Cohen in car number 9, Bertrand Baguette, car 92, and then Dirk Schouten in the bright yellow number 57. He's followed by Flint Schuring in the black and orange machine. Rest of the field making its way out there. There's the bright purple car in the middle of the pack as well, which is another absolutely stunning machine. That is the number 56 car of Quentin Antonell, up there near the front end of the order. And the final car to make its way back out there was, I believe, actually the number 13 of Joan Vignez. He's actually made his way back out onto the circuit. I think he was one of the cars that was involved in one of the spins earlier. I think he was the car that got caught actually by Cedric Chassang. So there was a battle for the front of the AM class with Ralph Popelars and Cedric Chassang. Ralph went down the inside of Vignez, then opened up the door, and Chassang thought, I could have a piece of that as well. And unfortunately did not make it work and went into the right rear corner. We've also had a retirement from this race in the form of Sam de Jong, who started 6th on the grid in this one, but Sam came off here at the Kleiner chicane down at turns 5 and 6. Looked like contact as well because the right rear had been broken, so I think as they tried to go 2x2 through the chicane, it didn't quite work. So I believe we're going to have a rolling restart here. They're just going to take this lap under safety car conditions, and then at the end of the lap, the safety car will come in and the race will resume. I'm not sure if the race has been counted back slightly or if a new timer has been added, but we will have that confirmed on our graphics by the time the race gets back underway. And there is your confirmation, everybody, that the safety car will come in this lap. And there you go, the safety car has made its way away from the field now, and Robert De Haan will lead them round. He's the one that chooses when they go. Safety car is going to have already made its way in by now. It'll have fired itself down towards that final chicane. And round number 9 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux from Zolder will get back underway in just a moment. I've had confirmation as well that all drivers involved in the incident that caused the red flag are okay. So great news to get the race back underway, and out of the final chicane they go, and Robert De Haan emerges over the crest in the lead. And look, already a bit more weaving to get that extra bit of temperature into the tyres. They're so sensitive to it, and these cars are down the inside already. Flint Schuring having a look there on Dirk Schouten. He wants to get this underway as soon as possible and wants to get right back on with the action and make up places instantly. A little bit more manoeuvrability in the middle of the pack there. Actually, I think Van Eindhoven was under pressure by the look of it in the number 14 machine. There is only 6 minutes of this race to go, so they really have to get on with it now. But speaking of getting on with it, fantastic restart by Robert De Haan. He's opened up a bit of a gap now over Glenn Van Perrie, and Rick Cohen is already under pressure from Bertrand Baguette as well for 3rd position. Look at that hop, skip and a jump over the curb for Robert De Haan. Fantastic stuff. It's great. Again, body language is the key word here. The way these cars move around is absolutely lovely to watch. I think it was the number 3 of Robin Knutson that's got ahead of Lucas Van Eindhoven as well. They were side by side going through turn 2. But De Haan currently leading this race now, looking very, very good at the front. And it was Knutson that got past Van Eindhoven. Antonell currently rounding out the top 10 in the gorgeous purple machine. As somebody's hit the tyre stack down there, and the tyres have been replaced. Thanks again to the marshals for their quick response on that. Still a bit of weaving actually by De Haan as he comes down towards the Jackie X-Box into the chicane again. Cohen definitely under pressure for that 3rd position, but then again, he's got about 15 drivers all lined up behind him. The top 2, much like they are in the championship, breaking away here at this moment in time. Rick Cohen having a good run because at the moment he's currently 12th in the championship. His best point score so far this season is 13 points. So this will be not only his best result, but a big haul of points to help him out in the championship standings. Dirk Schouten now all over the back of Bertrand Baguette as well. Baguette was putting pressure on Cohen not long ago, and now it's the opposite way round. He's gone from being the attacker to the attacked and having to defend. But there is Robert De Haan, race leader for Richardson Racing. Continues to do a wonderful, wonderful job at the top of the pile. And like I say, in the rookie division as well, he is the man to beat. But all of a sudden, wow, Van Perrie gets a fantastic run out of the Kleiner chicane. He's going to try it around the outside into the Villeneuve chicane. You can't really go 2x2 through there. Goes for one cutback, goes for another, then goes for another. Is he going to get down the inside at the Terleman box? No, he's not, but he is all over the back of De Haan. Oh, he just has to get on the brakes, though, through Terleman box. He cannot commit as much as De Haan did round there. When you're following another car in front, it's so difficult to make that work. Just the tiniest bit of dirty air in a GT car, and it feels like the car is suddenly racing on tyres that are made of stone. Those tyres definitely aren't made of stone. There they are, having their heads kicked in so far this weekend. But it's De Haan and Van Perrie providing great entertainment at the front of the pack for this race lead. Rick Cohen's going to be very happy, though, that Baguette has now dropped off slightly, and everybody else behind is going to be piling in on him to try and make moves. 3 minutes to go here at Zolder in round 9 of the championship, and we have a fantastic battle for the race lead. Rest of the field all behaving themselves at this moment in time. Looks like De Haan's had a really good final sector, though, and a really good first couple of corners because he's opened up a slight advantage. All of a sudden, that battle behind has developed again because now Schouten has closed up to Baguette again, but he's actually opened up a bit of a gap over the driver behind, car number 16 of Flint Schuring. There is Cohen in 3rd position. Car number 9 racing for JW Race Service in this fantastic liveried machine. I think that looks wonderful. Really bold and striking livery. But your race leader looking a little bit more comfortable on this lap, actually, is De Haan. He's going to be hoping to maintain that right to the end. Look at the way these cars change direction through the chicane. It's an absolute marvel, isn't it? So fast, one way, then the other. Rick Cohen holds on to a podium place for this moment in time. Then it's Bertrand Baguette, Dirk Schouten, Flint Schuring, Sasha Norden, Robin Knutson, Lucas Van Eindhoven and Aaron Mason in car number 8, currently rounding out the top 10 positions. He's up there for Revs Motorsport in the Pro-Am category. We've got 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the clock, which means we should just about get 2 laps here. As he crosses the line, oh, it's one, yeah, they're in qualifying they were doing 1:29s. And we've crossed the line here with about 1 minute 35 seconds left. So there will be this lap and then one more for these drivers. There's Sasha Norden trying to get by Flint Schuring just in front and careful not to be overtaken by Robin Knutson behind in the number 3 machine. Seems like there's been a bit of a run wide potentially there by one of our drivers. That was the number 8 machine actually of Aaron Mason, who's run wide, and I think he was under pressure from Antonell for that spot. There is Schuring in the middle of this one, Norden right behind, and then the number 3 of Knutson. Look at the way that they absorb that curve. It's fantastic. The car just doesn't seem phased by it at all. You can hear the pops and bangs as they change down through the gears into the chicanes. A little sort of half look up the inside there, actually, by Sasha Norden. It's very far back to try that, and maybe just a little bit of mind games there to try and unsettle the car in front. Flint Schuring. All of a sudden, De Haan has got into a rhythm here, and he's actually disappeared up the road. He's got 2 seconds over Van Perrie behind him, and then Cohn is another 1.2 seconds back. De Haan has just switched it on here in these final couple of laps, and Glenn Van Perrie not able to stay with him at this moment in time. They cross the line then, and this will start the final lap with 5 seconds left to go on the board. So Van Perrie next up, then Cohen, then Baguette, Schuiten, and then Schuring. Norden just ahead of the number 3 of Knutson, and there is Van Eindhoven in that gorgeous metallic green machine, the number 14 car for JW Race Service. Teammates with 3rd place Rick Cohen at the moment. I'll say at the moment as if they're not going to be teammates soon, they are. Antonell has got past the number 8 of Aaron Mason. So Aaron dropping down outside of the top 10, unfortunately. He's just in front of the number 75 now of Etienne Plones. But it's De Haan leading the way. And all of a sudden, it looks like Rick Cohen could potentially get 2nd place here from Glenn Van Perrie. Not quite sure what's happened to Glenn, but he's dropped off the pace in this last lap or so. He's 2.8 seconds off the back of De Haan now. And we get another lap after this once the clock ticks to 0. So maybe more of a chance here for Rick Cohen to get this done. They come through the Tillerman box. Just a few couple of corners left on this lap. And Rick Cohen already moving over to the right-hand side. He's certainly making his intentions clear here on Glenn Van Perrie, but he needs to be careful because he's got Glenn's teammate behind him, the number 92 car of Bertrand Baguette, as part of the Auguste by NGT team. Still this massive train now. It's almost a long battle for 2nd place. As De Haan crossing the line yet again. On course at the moment for what's going to be his 6th race victory in 9 races this season. It'll be very impressive if he manages that. Doesn't look like there's much stopping him at this moment in time. Little look down the inside there by Van Eindhoven on Knutson. Just again to fill the mirrors, play the mental game, just to try and unsettle the driver in front of you. As they scream their way around the right-hander down at the Lucien Bianchi box. De Haan, though, looking very, very good, isn't he, right now, out of the chicane. What's not looking very good right now is Glenn Van Perrie, because he's got Cohen all over the back of him for 2nd and 3rd places. There is the battle. Look, Cohen is right with him. Glenn Van Perrie has lost pace in this later stage of the race. This is the final lap now, and a few corners left, and Cohen's given him a bump through the Tillerman box, but it's only affected his own speed. He's not got the run. Is he going to go down the inside? Van Perrie defends the inside line. Cohen tries to get around the outside. Oh, there's contact. Bertrand Baguette gets a hit from Dirk Schuiten. The two of them come to contact, but both make it out the corner okay. They have the run down towards the final chicane. It's going to be De Haan that's going to take the victory, surely. Van Perrie's got Cohen around his outside. He can't make that work. Schuiten looks down the inside of Baguette. You've also then in there got the 16 machine of Schuring, but it's De Haan that takes the win in round 9 of the championship. Fantastic stuff. And then 2nd place goes to Glenn Van Perrie, then Cohen, then Baguette, then Dirk Schuiten. Wow, what a fantastic race that was. Very, very entertaining all the way to the flag as the still cars coming across the line. But De Haan takes the win. Glenn Van Perret finishes in second place. Cohen just behind him in third. Bertrand Baguette crossing the line in fourth place. Dirk Schouten finishing fifth ahead of Flint Schoring. Then Sascha Norden next up. Robin Knutsen finishing in eighth, the Swedish driver, ahead of Lucas van Eindhoven and Quentin Antonell. But that is win number 6 out of 9 races this season for Robert De Haan. What a beautiful drive that was in the beautiful Richardson racing machine. Certainly controlled that one when he got to the front. There was sudden pressure from Glenn Van Perret there, wasn't there, partway through that race? And all of a sudden, unfortunately, Glenn just dropped off at the end and really had to defend himself in the final laps. It's not an easy circuit to defend at either, is Zolder. There's so many overtaking opportunities around this place. You have to be absolutely on your A game every single step of the way, and it seemed like De Haan was today. He may not have qualified on pole position, but he made it work and gave it a big, big send down the inside of his rival. Bertrand Baguette was just next to him there as well. And don't forget, in individual categories, they can get fastest lap points as well as pole position points in this championship. So there's always extra points on offer to think about. Some of the drivers showing their appreciation to the marshals and officials there with a flash of the lights. A busy one for the marshals, that, and the recovery teams, as they had to get cars off the circuit and work very hard with some of the safety car periods that we had. But again, big thanks to the marshals and officials. They keep our race meeting running as smoothly as possible. And for my first experience of the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux, that was colossally entertaining. Really, really good stuff. Some of the retirees from the race, though, unfortunately. Number 36, Ralph Popelars, did not make it to the end. Number 33 did not make it to the end, Sébastien Lejeune. The number 5 of Mika Stanley and the 777 of Sam de Jong. There's your result, though. Robert De Haan takes the win from Glenn Van Perret, with Rick Cohen in third position. Bertrand Baguette next up in car 92, and Dirk Schouten finishing the top 5. Flint Schoring was in 6th place ahead of Sascha Norden and Robin Knutsen, with Lucas van Eindhoven in 9th place. Quentin Antonell completes the top 10 after overtaking Aaron Mason a little bit earlier on in the race. Aaron comes home to finish in 11th ahead of Etienne Plonez, and then we have Hans Weiss Jr. in 13th ahead of Jaime Font and Mike Rosenberg in 15th position. Luc van der Feesten in car 911 finished in 16th, with Cedric Chassang in 17th ahead of Johan Vignez. Ad Geertz was 19th, and Ralph Popelars, 10 laps down, is classified in 20th position. Then we have other non-finishers, Sébastien Lejeune, Mika Stanley, and also the 777 before that I mentioned of Sam de Jong not making it to the end after his first lap incident. You can see actually Sam's car just up there on the top of shot being recovered. The drivers pull into their podium positions, although it seems like the second place driver not there yet, which was Glenn Van Perret. Either that or he's driven down the pit lane. These cars get the garages for the weekend. The Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship is here this weekend as well, and they're too big for the garages, unfortunately. So it means that the beautiful Porsches that we have get the garages for the weekend. And the teams get, obviously, a lovely facility, if I can get my words out, to work in and work on. But you can just see, I mean, if you look at the number 12 car there of Rosenberg, just look how intense the sunlight is on that car. It's remarkably hot here at Zolder. It's so different to any time I've seen any racing going on here, for sure. But this place definitely has its own climate. So you never know how the weather is going to develop over the course of the weekend. Not quite sure where Glenn Van Perret has gone, unfortunately. But hopefully he'll be along for the podium presentation for the overall top 3. And they've got the tunes on down there at Zolder, ready for the next part of the day. And it seems like the weather is going to remain like this all the way through as well, which is always lovely. It can be quite exciting, though, over the course of a weekend when the conditions from one race to the next can be completely different. And I think there's a car being towed into the pit lane in the top right of our shot. Is that Glenn Van Perry's car? It'd be a very interesting way to make it back to the pit lane for Glenn Van Perry. I'm quite confident it is. Now, please do forgive me if it's not, because I get a lower bit rate stream here at this end. It doesn't look like it is Glenn Van Perry, is it? Trying to figure out which of the cars it is. I think, no, it is Van Perry, isn't it? That is Glenn Van Perry's car. It's number 15, yeah. Unbelievable. So he doesn't make it to the very end of the race. I did wonder where he'd gone on the cool-down lap at the end of the race. Because when I saw De Haan side by side with one of the Auguste by NGT cars, I figured it was Glenn Van Perry and not his teammate Bertrand Baguette, but it was Baguette that he was next to. So, very strange. Hopefully, whatever that is, they can get fixed for later on. I'm sure they will. These teams are very efficient and very hard-working and very quick to resolve any issues. And Glenn Van Perry just steps out of the car now. He'll have a chat with his engineer and confirm what has gone on there, but still, big points for him in the championship, in second position for the Auguste by NGT team. And now everybody will pop their cars back into the garages and get working again. You can see there the gorgeous number 56 machine side on there of Quentin Antonell, that beautiful purple car. Some fantastic liveries, very good looking machines in this championship, I have to say. It's always a well-represented category, is Porsche Cup racing, whichever corner of the world it may be in. The cars and the sights and the sounds are always a real spectacle, but the liveries and the way the cars are presented is always top draw. Seems like we've got some drivers and personnel making their way over to the podium now for their trophies to be handed out. I believe we're just going to be covering the overall top three podium here and not the top three in each category, but we will wait and see. The drivers and teams will now be taking their time to debrief with one another and speak over what happened during the race. I believe that there is Rick Cohen from the number 9 machine. And it seems like there is a slight delay to proceedings here. I think the car coming in now is the 777 of Sam de Jong that received that contact early on. If it's mounted backwards on this truck, we might get a quick glance at what the damage is. But no, typically my luck, it is facing the way that it is travelling, so we cannot see that right rear corner. And there you can see the drivers just trying to remain in the shade slightly for as long as they can after that one. I imagine it's very, very hot inside those cars on a day like today. It's always an interesting thing to see after a race, isn't it? When you get all the drivers together and they all chat about how the race went, what they were up to, and how the car felt, and so on. So many elements to talk about. And, you know, even I used to do a lot of sim racing, and coming even from that background and talking to your fellow racers after the race, did you see what this happened on lap 3, or did you see what so-and-so did? How did this curb feel to you when you did it? Was your car doing this? You know, there's so many questions and elements of the race to talk about. It's always an interesting thing to have eyes on from a broadcast perspective. And it seems like we're going to get the podium procedure underway right now. And yep, we do indeed have our overall top 3. It's Rick Cohen that takes third place overall in the category. Very happy with that. Both arms in the air. Glenn Van Perry, or Parijs, I should say, who finishes in second. And your race winner for the 6th time this season, Robert De Haan, takes another victory. And the young man doing a great job in that one with a big send down the inside. And now the trophies will get handed out by the CEO of Circuit Zolder. And just a quick run through of the national anthem there, as the trophies will now get presented. Glenn Van Perry gets second place. Gorgeous trophies as well in this category. And your race winner for Richardson Racing, Robert De Haan, taking another fantastic win after a really hard drive. Certainly had to work all the way through that one, didn't he? And now the drivers take their champagne bottles and clear the podium. No champagne spraying for those guys on this occasion here. But a nice chilled podium procedure for the guys after what was definitely not a chilled race. Plenty going on in that one. As there you go. Now is the champagne spraying, it seems, for Rick Cohen, as he sprays a lot of the team members and some of the media. But really looking forward to the next race a little bit later on. Should be a lot of fun. But that's going to wrap things up for us here in round 9 of the 2023 Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux from Zolder. Really hope you've enjoyed the coverage with this one. I've been your commentator from here in the UK, Chaz Draycott. It's been great fun to jump into this championship and get an eye on how proceedings go and just how fantastic the racing is. We have another race coming up later on today, though, do not forget, and hopefully you will join me for that one. But for now, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you again later on.